cash. It was nothing else to do. It was either send him to Jackson or have Gillespie sue us because he knowed some way that Darrell set fire to it. I don't know how he knowed, but he did. Vardaman seen him to it, or Vardaman seen him do it. This is cash. Vardaman seen him do it, but he swore he never told nobody but Dewey Dow, and that she told him not to tell nobody, but Gillespie knowed it. But he would, a suspicion is sooner or later, he could have done it that night just watching the way Darrell acted. And so Pa said, I reckon there ain't nothing else to do, and Joel said, you want to fix him now? Fix him, Pa said. Catch him and tie him up, Joel said. God damn it. Do you want to wait until he sets fire to the goddamn team and wagon? But there wasn't no use in that. There ain't no use in that, I said. We can wait till she is underground. A fellow that's going to spend the rest of his life locked up, he ought to be let to have what pleasure he can have before he goes. I reckon he ought to be there, Pa says. God knows it's a trial on me. Seems like it ain't no end to the bad luck when once it starts. Sometimes I ain't sure who's got a right to say when a man is crazy and when he ain't. Sometimes I think it ain't none of us pure crazy and ain't none of us pure sane until the balance of us talks him that away. It's like it ain't so much what a fellow does, but it's the way the majority of folks is looking at him when he does it. Because Joel is too hard on him. Of course, it was Joel's horse was traded to get her that night to town, and in a sense it was the value of the horse Darrell tried to burn up. But I thought more than once before we crossed the river and after how it would be God's blessing if he did take her out in our hands and get shut of her in some clean way. And it seemed to me that when Joel worked so to get her out in the river, he was going against God in a way. And then when Darrell seen that it looked like one of us would have to do something, I can almost believe he done right in a way. But I don't reckon nothing excuses setting fire to a man's barn and endangering his stock and destroying his property. That's how I reckon a man is crazy. That's how he can't see eye to eye with other folks. And I reckon there ain't nothing else to do with him but what most folks say is right. But it's a shame in a way. Folks seem to get away from old and right teaching that says to drive the nails down and trim the edges well, always like it was for your own use and comfort you were making it. It's like some folks has the smooth, pretty boards to build a courthouse with, and others don't have no more than rough lumber fitting to build a chicken coop. But it's better to build a tight chicken coop than a shoddy courthouse. And when they both build shoddy or build well, neither because it's one or t'other, because it's one or t'other, T-O-T-H-E-R, is going to make a man feel better nor the worse. So we went up the street toward the square, and he said, we better take Cash to the doctor first. We can leave him there and come back for him. That's it. It's because me and him was born close together, and it nigh 10 years before Joe and Dewey Dow and Vardaman began to come along. I felt kin to them, all right, but I don't know. And me being the oldest and thinking already the very thing that he done, I don't know. Pa was looking at me, then at him, mumbling in his mouth. Go on, I said. We'll get it done first. She will want us all there, Pa says. Let's take Cash to the doctor first, Darrell said. She'll wait. She's already waited 9 days. You all don't know, Pa says. The somebody you was young with, and you grow old in her, and she grow old in you, seeing the old coming on it, was the one somebody you could hear say it don't matter, and know it was the truth out in the hard world, and all a man's grief and trials. You all don't know. We got the digging to do, I said. Armstead and Gillespie both told you to send word ahead, Darrell said. Don't you want to go to Peabody's now, Cash? Go on, I said. It feels right easy now. It's best to get things done in the right place. If it was just Doug, Pa says, we forgot our spade too. Yes, Darrell said. A spade is a shovel. Yes, Darrell says. I'll go to the hardware store. We'll have to buy one. It'll cost money, Pa says. Don't you begrudge her. Don't you begrudge her it, Darrell says. Go on and get her a spade. Or go on and get a spade, Joel said. Here, give me the money. Pa didn't stop. I reckon we can get a spade, he said. I reckon there are Christians here. So Darrell sat still, and we went on with Joel squatting on the tailgate, watching the back of Darrell's head. He looked like one of these bulldogs, one of these dogs that don't bark none, squatting against the rope, watching the thing he was waiting to jump at. He sat that way all the time. We was in front of Mrs. Bundren's house, hearing the music, watching the back of Darrell's head with them hard white eyes of his. And isn't Mrs. Bundren his mom? The music was playing in the house. It was one of them graphophones. It was natural as a music band. Do you want to go to Peabody's? Darrell said. They can wait here and tell Pa, and I'll drive you to Peabody's and come back for them. No, I said. It was better to get her underground. Now we was close, just waiting until Pa borrowed the shovel. He drove along the street until we could hear the music. Maybe they got one here, he said. He pulled up at Mrs. Bundren's. It was like he knowed. Sometimes I think that if a working man could see work as far ahead as a lazy man can see laziness. So we stopped there like he knowed before that little new house where the music was. We waited there, hearing it. I believe I could have Dickard's Surratt down to the $5 on that one of his. It's a comfortable thing, music is. Maybe they got one here, Pa says. You want Jewel to go, Doll says, or do you reckon I better? I reckon I better, Pa says. He got down and went up to the path and around the house to the back. The music stopped and it started again. He'll get it too, Darl said. I said. It was just like he know, like he could see through the walls and into the next 10 minutes. Only it was more than 10 minutes. The music stopped and never commenced again for a good spell where her and Pa was talking at the back. We waited in the wagon. You let me take you back to Peabody's, Darl said. No, I said, we'll get her underground. If he ever gets back, Joel said, he began to cuss. He started to get down from the wagon. I'm going, he said. Then we saw Pa coming. He had 2 spades coming around the house. He laid them in the wagon and got in and went on. The music never started again. Pa was looking back at the house. He kind of lifted his hand a little, and I saw the shade pulled back a little at the window and her face in it. But the curiousest thing was Dewey Dell. It surprised me. I see all the while how folks could say he was queer, but that was the very reason couldn't nobody hold it personal. It was like he was outside of it too, same as you, and getting mad at it would be kind of like getting mad at a mud puddle that splashed you when you stepped in it. And then I always kind of had an idea that him and Dewey Dell kind of know things betwixt them. If I'd have said it was one of us she liked better than other, I'd say it was Darl. But when we got it filled and uncovered and drove out the gate and turned into the lane where them fallows was waiting, when they come out and come on him and he jerked back, it was Dewey Dell that was on him before even Jewel could get at him. And then I believe I know how Gillespie knowed about how his barn taking a fire. She hadn't said a word, hadn't even looked at him, but when the fallows told him what they wanted and that they had come to get him and throw back, she jumped on him like a wild cat so that one of the fallows had to quit and hold her in her scathing and clawing at him like a wild cat, while the other one and Pa and Jewel threw Darl down and held him lying on his back looking up at me. I thought you would have told me, he said. I never thought you wouldn't have. Darl, I said, but he fought again, him and Jewel and the fellow and the other one holding Dewey Dell and Vardamon yelling and Jewel saying, kill the son of a bitch. It was bad, so it was bad. If Fallow can't get away from a shabby job, he can't do it. I tried to tell him, but he just said, I thought you'd have told me. It's not that, he said. Then he began to laugh. The other fellow pulled Jewel off of him, and he sat there on the ground laughing. I tried to tell him if I could have just moved, even set up, but I tried to tell him, and he quit laughing, looking up at me. Do you want me to go, he said. It'll be better for you, I said. Down there, it'll be quiet with none of us bothering and such. It'll be better for you, Darl, I said. Better, he said. He began to laugh again. Better, he said. He couldn't hardly say it for laughing. He sat on the ground and us watching him laughing and laughing. It was bad. It was bad, so I'd be darned if I could see anything to laugh at, because there just ain't nothing justifies the deliberate destruction of what a man has built with his own sweat and stored the fruit of his sweat into. But I ain't so sure a man has the right to say what is crazy and what ain't. It's like there was a fallow in every man that's done a past the sanity or the insanity, that watches the sane and the insane doings of that man with the same horror and the same astonishment. All right, that was the end of Cash.